Have you ever wondered what it would be like if like death metal and hardcore kind of met in a way and in a modern sense? Well, look no further because I might have found something for you. Anyway, hey, what's up everyone? It's your boy Matt Diazable coming at you with some new music reviews. Thank you for coming on by. I appreciate it. We've been growing a lot and I really appreciate every new subscriber, everyone who's liking, commenting. You guys are the best. So keep it going. Yeah. Today I am checking out the latest release from a band called Gates to Hell with their latest album, Death Comes to All. If you've never heard about this band, Gates to Hell is a death metal band with a lot of hardcore influence and are based out from Louisville, Kentucky. Got to be careful how I say that. And have been going strong since about, I want to say 2018, 2017. I got put onto this band because one of my favorite bands, the Acacia Strand, the vocalist Vincent Bennett was doing a lot of streams back during COVID, and he would always talk about new bands and bands to check out. And I remember him throwing this band out there, and I was like, okay, I'll check them out. And then me going to Louisville a lot to go to this hardcore festival, LDB. I've seen the band play a lot. A lot of people I've met from Kentucky who are friends know the band, so I've known about this band for a couple of years now, and I'm pretty excited I get to finally do a little review about them with their latest album. I don't know if it's their big like debut album. I think it's their second album. At least they're on a new label with this new album. Off the top of my head, I'm kind of forgetting a little bit, but I'm doing my best. But like I said earlier, if you're into deathcore, or not deathcore, death metal and hardcore mixed together, this is the band for you. And with this latest album from Gates to Hell, I feel like they are delivering a very raw and very relentless burst of modern death metal to the world. Across these 10 tracks, the band leans into some very groovy, dissonant style riffs, hardcore inspired breakdowns, and just high octane aggression. It's a record that really hits hard in the moment when you're listening to, but it doesn't always just kind of leave a lasting impression on you. From the opening barrage of the song Rise Again, the band is really setting a tone with speed and intensity with their playing. You have some really sharp and fast drumming and some really chunky riffs that have a very dominating feel, but then you have the vocals here that, are consistently, a strong point for the band. The vocals, they seem very full-bodied, they have a nice bit of variation to them and just overall a very commanding presence. Structurally, some of the songs feel a little bit disjointed, and ideas just don't always seem to come out very cleanly or flow very nicely. There's no shortage of energy here. They are definitely going all in, but at times it does feel like it's a bit of a hit or a miss. And overall, I would say the riffs are quite a big highlight through a lot of these songs, especially on the song Rise Again. So I want to play a little clip of that song so you get a sense of just the aggression and intensity the band has. Quite aggressive. Songs like, A Summoning and Craze Killer showcase the band's knack for groove and dissonance, bringing in that, hardcore punch to help, lift the veil of that death metal style they're doing here, adding some nice variation to their sound. So here's a clip of Summoning so you get a sense of just that hardcore presence they have. It's got that hardcore presence there with that groove. Tracks like, 21 Sacraments and Next to Bleed follow a very predictable blueprint in terms of like bringing death metal brutality that feels a bit, generic and genre standard. And there's not too much to really distinguish like these songs from other songs that fill the death metal world. There's potential there for sure, but they seem a little bit lacking. So I want to play a clip of 21 Sacraments. I think I'm saying that name right. So you get a sense of just how a bit bland it can sound. Sounds good, but it doesn't really have that much feel to it. The drums are a bit of a mixed bag on this record because while, they are technically quite solid, they do feel a little bit stiff and mechanical at times, lacking that dynamic swing that could really elevate the music. Even in some slower, more atmospheric moments, like on the eerie solo when it comes to Death Comes to All, or like the breathing space of Weeping in Pain, the drums really keep things kind of like rigid in a very tight box. So it feels like it's really limiting the songs in terms of their emotional or texture range. That feels like there could have been more expression with the drums, but they're just so so rigid. That being said, there's still some good standout moments on this record, like the closer song Fused with Soil. It brings one of the most, groovy and distinctive sounds on the record. It's also paired with some really nasty riffage here with a nice, well-used sample clip that kind of remind me of Carnifex from back in the day, that deathcore band that used a lot of sound clips in there. Well, not a lot, but a few sound clips, but also brought a lot of brutality in a very groovy way. And speaking of deathcore, the song Locked Out really taps into that, deathcore bouncy territory. And having one of the most satisfying breakdowns on the album, even if the song itself is, kind of minimal. One really good strength about this album is the record or the song lengths. Yeah, I said the wrong thing. They're very short and to the point, so nothing ever really feels dragged out. Yeah, they might seem a little bit generic with their songs, but there's not too much repetition here. It's in, out, and if you want to go back and listen to it because you found something compelling, it's easy to go back into. It doesn't feel like, a chore to listen to these songs. There's no bloatish here, and in death metal, that can happen a lot. So I would say that really works in the favor of this band. But that tightness kind of comes at a price because there's little room for experimentation or sonic evolution. So it feels like some generic death metal tropes get placed in because they don't have time to experiment and try other things. So catch-22, you would say. After everything's being said, Gates to Hell's latest release is a decent, hard-hitting metal record that has a bit of a promising future for the band from Louisville, and I can see why they're getting a lot of tours. They're going out more. They're doing a lot of things. I feel like they're still possibly, or they need to find more about their identity, because a lot of what they're doing here, there's some moments of cool things like the mix of hardcore and death metal, but then they kind of fall into tropes of a simple death metal style playing that can feel a little bit boring and bland slash, other bands are doing similar. So they're like in the middle ground of things. There's a solid foundation here with especially, the grooviness of the band and the vocals. But there needs to be a bit more development in their raw potential, because what they're doing here right now, they have some cool moments and everything, but if they can keep doing what they're doing, it could just feel like, they could become just another death metal band amongst the other death metal bands, which they're fine with that. That's cool, but it's going to be hard to help elevate them to another level. So I would say this latest album from Gates to Hell, Death Comes to All, I would give it a nice and decent 6.5 out of 10. Links down below. Tell me what you think about this album. Tell me what you think about this band, and always give me some recommendations. I'm always appreciating it. So, like always, see you in the pit.